Okay, so we left off in the last one just going over these mass extinctions at the Ordovician, the Devonian, and then the end of the Permian. And we'll look at this part of life in some of the next few lectures. But let's just take a quick walk through the Paleozoic and take a look at the different life forms that existed and what would it have looked like if we were swimming in the oceans or walking on land at these times. Well, in the Cambrian, this is very typical of the organisms we would see in the Cambrian. We're going to have a bunch of different trilobites. We're going to have various different arthropods. We have segmented worms, but this is basically if you went snorkeling or scuba diving in the Cambrian, what you might see. Some big predators as well. Remember your Anomalocaris. I'm not going to show you what Cambrian on land would look like, because you know what it would look like? A whole bunch of nothing, because there's no life on land yet, right? It's just going to be like Mars. Now the Ordovician in the oceans, we're going to start seeing some of those cephalopods, but we also have different kinds of corals and trilobites at this time as well. And we're going to see some of the earlier crinoids. Now once we get to the Silurian, in the Silurian, remember we had those eurypterids, those sea scorpions are a major predator at this time. We have some brachiopods down here, some different kinds of corals, some early fish, and then also these cephalopods. On land is changing now. Now we're starting to get some of those first plants colonizing Earth's surface, and it might have looked like that. The Devonian is the age of fish, so we're going to start seeing all those different diverse fish types. But we do still have some trilobites, we have some corals of different kinds, we have some of those cephalopods. On land, we're getting some, remember I said some of the plants are going to start being able to grow taller now, but this still looks like a very alien world, unlike what we really would see today. In the Carboniferous, the Mississippian and the Pennsylvanian, these crinoids become really common. And notice the colors those have. Crinoids do still exist today, and the species that do still exist today are have these colors. They look sort of like a 1980s rave party. I mean, it's like neon blue and green and yellow and orange and stuff. And now just imagine you would be scuba diving in these shallow waters and all these funky colored things would be just waving in the ocean currents. It must have been quite a neat thing to see on the shallow ocean. We also have some different fish at this time. There's an echinoid, there's a sea urchin right there, and that's our oceans at that time. This is kind of like when crinoids were really common. In the Carboniferous on Earth, we had lots of forests, and those forests had scale trees in them, they had tree ferns in them, but they also had those giant insects, and we also are seeing, of course, some of our amphibians roaming about at that time. Then in the Permian seas, again, we still have our cephalopods. Cephalopods hang on. Some of them still exist today. An octopus is a cephalopod, but these shelled cephalopods were still around then. We have, again, corals. We have some brachiopods in there, and that's our oceans at that time. But on land, now land, these are some of those synapsids, those mammal-like reptiles, and that happens to be Dimetrodon there. We also have some amphibians still living there in the Permian. And then remember I said there's those cynodonts, those things that might even have had hair on them because we have found whisker pits preserved. And they were a big predator of this time as well. So our Permian landscape still is kind of alien to us with these sort of weird plants and stuff and organisms quite unlike what we have today, like our Dimetrodon. But we're slowly getting things to be a little more familiar. And that's life in That's life in the Paleozoic. So this is my random picture of the day. This is me at Rockport Quarry in Michigan. And Rockport Quarry has a very, it's a reef. It's an ancient Paleozoic reef. So it's a limestone that contains all kinds of diverse Paleozoic fossils. So if you ever get a chance to go to it, I highly encourage it. You get to take a walk through the Paleozoic there. And that's it. I'm signing off now.